Commander Rylan Corr stood in front of the towering structure that had been left to him and his daughter, Lyra, and let out a long, quiet sigh. The old space base hung on the edge of a distant star system like a forgotten sentinel. Rust streaked across its metallic hull, and the docking ports had seen better days. Most people in the galaxy would have laughed at the idea of calling it a home. Most people, Rylan thought, had no idea what they were missing. Lyra, a bright-eyed girl of 16, stood beside him, her fingers gripping the railing nervously. "Dad," she said softly, "do you really think we can live here? Everyone says it's just a broken old station." Rylan smiled faintly. "Everyone also said I'd never survive my first mission in the Outer Rim. People underestimate humans a lot, Lyra." "They forget we adapt." The girl looked at him, her eyes wide. "But this place, it's huge and old and scary." Rylan ruffled her hair. "That's the point. Big things often hide big opportunities. We just have to look carefully." The inheritance had come unexpectedly. Rylan had served as a soldier for decades, fighting in conflicts across multiple star systems. When he retired, he had expected peace, maybe a quiet life somewhere close to civilization. Instead, he received a message from a distant lawyer representing the estate of an old acquaintance, a scientist who had vanished years ago. The scientist, Dr. Ellerin, had left them the base, though no reason was given. The first thing the galaxy did upon hearing of their inheritance was laugh. Interstellar corporations sent their scouts. Smugglers called them rusty relics, and even some former soldiers mocked the idea that Rylan would attempt to manage an abandoned station. It was, by every standard, worthless. And yet Rylan had always believed there was value in things others discarded. He and Lyra moved onto the base with nothing but a few personal supplies, old tools, and their determination. They arrived in the middle of the space night, the glow of distant stars reflecting off the pitted metal of the station. The airlock hissed as they entered, revealing a dim interior coated in dust and grime. The smell of metal and old machinery filled the air. Lyra wrinkled her nose. "It smells like history in here." Rylan chuckled. "History can teach you a lot if you're willing to listen." The first days were difficult. Life on the station was a challenge. Not just because of the abandoned state of the base, but because of the constant echoes of mockery from the galaxy beyond. Even though the nearest inhabited planet was light years away, rumors traveled fast. Traders, smugglers, and even explorers who passed through nearby systems sent messages, some curious, some cruel. "You'll never survive a month out there," one trader had messaged. "Old tech won't save you. Sell it before it rusts you out," another taunted. But Rylan ignored them. His focus was on the base itself. He taught Lyra how to navigate the corridors, identify vital systems, and inspect machinery. Every day, they discovered something new: an old storage bay that still held functional supplies, a hydroponics lab with faint traces of life, and consoles that, while dusty and worn, still blinked with faint lights. "What is this room?" Lyra asked one morning, pointing to a large chamber near the center of the base. "That," Rylan said, his voice low and careful, "was the command center. From here, the station's systems could control every part of the structure, monitor threats, and communicate with other stations. It hasn't worked in decades, but if we fix it, it could be very useful." Lyra's eyes lit up. "You really think we can do it?" Rylan nodded. "We'll try, step by step. That's how humans survive. Small steps, big results." As the days turned into weeks, they settled into a routine. Rylan would inspect the engineering sections, checking for leaks, pressure faults, and power failures, while Lyra explored other areas of the station, cataloging items and taking notes. She found old manuals, scribbled notes, and even diagrams that hinted at technologies she had never seen before. One afternoon, while she examined a series of storage lockers, she found something unusual, a set of old logs marked with the insignia of Dr. Ellerin. Curious, she called her father over. "Look at this," she said, holding up a datapad. "It's some kind of log, but the entries, they're strange. They talk about energy pulses and protective systems that no one knew existed." Rylan took the datapad, reading the lines carefully. "Interesting," he murmured. "It seems this base was more than just a research station. Ellerin might have been working on something important, something hidden." Lyra's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Hidden? Like a secret?" "Exactly," Rylan said. "And secrets are why people mock the old. They only see rust and dust, not what's underneath." The first hints of mystery came the next evening. While performing routine maintenance in the control corridors, Rylan noticed a faint hum that wasn't part of the station's usual mechanical noise. It was subtle, almost rhythmic, and seemed to come from deep within the base. "Lyra," he called. "Come here. Listen." She joined him, straining to hear. The hum was soft but distinct, a low vibration that seemed almost alive. "What is it?" she asked, a shiver running down her spine. "I don't know," Rylan admitted, "but I intend to find out." Over the following days, the hum grew slightly stronger, always present when they were near a certain section of the base. Rylan and Lyra started following the source, tracing it through old maintenance tunnels and storage areas that had been closed for decades. They found doors sealed with heavy locks, panels covered in dust, and signs warning of unknown hazards. But curiosity drove them forward. Humans, Rylan knew, were born to explore. Fear might stop some, but not them. One evening, Lyra discovered a small control panel partially hidden behind a maintenance door. She wiped away the grime and pressed a few buttons out of curiosity. The hum grew louder, and the lights on the panel blinked rapidly. "Dad, I think I did something!" she exclaimed. Rylan rushed over. "Step back, Lyra. Let me see." The panel displayed symbols they did not recognize, shapes and diagrams that seemed almost alien. Lines of energy pulsed across the screen, and the hum resonated through the floor beneath them. For a moment, the station felt alive, as if awakening from a long sleep. Rylan's eyes widened. This isn't ordinary. Ellerin must have hidden something powerful here." Lyra's heart raced. "Do you think it's dangerous?" "Possibly," Rylan admitted. "But humans are meant to face danger, Lyra. And if we can handle it, it might also be extraordinary." The hum continued late into the night. Rylan sat in the command center, scanning the base's systems, while Lyra pored over the old logs, trying to decode Ellerin's writings. Neither of them slept much, driven by a mix of fear and curiosity. In the days that followed, they began to see patterns. The hum corresponded with energy surges in certain parts of the base. Doors that had been locked for decades began to respond to commands from the old consoles. Lights flickered in rhythmic patterns, almost as if the station itself was trying to communicate. Rylan started training Lyra in ways that went beyond mere maintenance. He taught her how to read the patterns, how to anticipate system responses, and how to stay calm under pressure. Every lesson strengthened their bond and reminded them that human intelligence and determination were powerful tools, even against mysteries no one else could solve. Despite the isolation, rumors from the galaxy continued to reach them. Traders whispered about the old station, and smugglers occasionally tried to sneak near the perimeter, hoping to see something valuable. All of them left disappointed, not realizing that the base had awakened something they could not yet comprehend. One evening, as the twin suns of the distant star system set beyond the horizon, the hum reached a crescendo. Rylan and Lyra stood together in the control center. feeling the station pulse beneath their feet. "This is only the beginning," Ryland said, his voice calm but determined. "The galaxy mocked us for inheriting this place. They called it useless, but they don't know what's hidden here. And soon, they will see the truth." Lyra looked out at the stars, her fear mingling with excitement. I think I'm ready, Dad." Ryland smiled, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We both are. Humans always find a way." And as the hum echoed through the base, faintly glowing panels lit up in response to their presence. Somewhere deep inside, a hidden system stirred, waiting for them to uncover its full power. The soldier and his daughter, once mocked and underestimated, were about to discover that the value of a place is never measured by its appearance, but by what it holds within and what humans are willing to unlock. The journey had begun. The base had awakened, and with it, a new energy filled the air. Rylan and Lyra had spent weeks exploring every corridor, checking every system, and following the hum that seemed to come from deep within the station. Now it led them to a section of the base neither had dared to enter before, a heavily sealed chamber with doors that bore markings they could not read. "This must be it," Lyra whispered, her voice trembling with excitement and fear. "The source of the hum." Rylan nodded, placing his hand on the door's surface. The metal felt alive beneath his touch, almost vibrating in time with the sound. "Be ready for anything," he said. "We don't know what's inside, but whatever it is, I have a feeling it's important." Lyra pressed her hand next to his on the panel. As if recognizing their combined presence, the doors slowly hissed open. Dust swirled in the pale lights of the chamber, revealing a large room that had been untouched for decades. At its center was an object unlike anything they had ever seen. It was an alien artifact, hovering slightly above the floor. Its surface shimmered with faint colors that changed as they moved around it, patterns forming and dissolving as if it were alive. Lines of light pulsed through it in rhythm with the hum they had been following. Lyra stepped closer, her eyes wide. What is that?" Rylan shook his head, equally awed. "I don't know, but it's something far beyond human technology. Whatever Ilaran was working on, this was the heart of it." As they watched, the artifact reacted to their presence. The colors shifted, and a soft voice filled the chamber, not from any speaker, but from the artifact itself. "Welcome, humans," it said. The words were clear, though strange, as if translated automatically for them. "You have been chosen to awaken me. I am the guardian of this base. My purpose is to protect and assist those deemed worthy." Lyra's mouth fell open. "It talks. It really talks." Rylan took a cautious step forward. "Stay calm, Lyra. Let's see what it wants." The artifact pulsed again, projecting a holographic display into the room. Stars, planets, and strange symbols filled the space, along with schematics of the base and systems neither of them had fully understood. "This base," the Guardian continued, "was built to monitor threats across this sector of the galaxy. I am capable of predicting danger, defending the structure, and assisting those who can unlock my potential." Rylan's mind raced. "So this could change everything. If we can control it, we're not just guarding an old station. We could have a tool no one else has." Lyra nodded, her excitement overcoming fear. "Then let's learn it. Show it what we can do." Over the next several days, Rylan and Lyra focused all their attention on the Guardian. They explored its systems, learned to read its displays, and followed instructions it projected in subtle ways. The AI, or whatever it truly was patient but demanding. It tested their intelligence, their problem-solving skills, and even their instincts. At first it was simple tasks, rerouting power, running simulations, and repairing old circuits. But soon, the Guardian challenged them further, asking them to predict system failures, identify threats, and even think creatively to bypass old security protocols. Lyra proved especially skilled, quickly understanding patterns in the AI's logic and anticipating its prompts. "You have a natural talent," Ryland said one evening as they rested after a long session. "You're learning faster than I expected." Lyra smiled but remained focused. "We can't waste time. Whoever mocked us, they'll be back. They'll see this place differently once we're ready." Indeed, word had already started to spread. Traders and smugglers passing through nearby systems noticed unusual energy readings from the abandoned base. Some were curious, but a few greedy corporations sent scouts to investigate. None had yet approached directly, unsure what they might find. The Guardian, sensing potential threats, began to assist in subtle ways. Doors that had once been inert now responded to commands instantly. Hidden corridors and storage areas opened, revealing tools, supplies, and defensive systems long forgotten. Rylan and Lyra marveled at the complexity of it all. One day, while exploring a newly opened section of the base, Lyra discovered a set of old data cores. "These must have belonged to a Laren," she said, scanning them carefully. "There's information here about energy sources, defense protocols, and other bases. Other stations like this one." Rylan leaned over her shoulder, examining the logs. So Alarin wasn't just building a station. He was building a network, and this artifact, the Guardian, it's meant to control it. The realization sank in slowly. They weren't just inheriting an abandoned base, they had stumbled upon technology that could change the balance of power in this sector of the galaxy. And while the corporations saw only a decaying station, they were about to learn the hard way that humans, even underestimated humans, could wield power in ways others could not predict. As days passed, their confidence grew. Rylan taught Lyra strategies used in military operations, how to anticipate attacks, how to use the station's design to their advantage, and how to stay calm under pressure. The Guardian added its guidance, enhancing their understanding with calculations and simulations beyond their natural abilities. One evening, the AI projected a simulation of potential attacks. Holographic ships moved through the star system, demonstrating how the base could defend itself. Lyra studied the movements carefully, adjusting power to shields, activating decoys, and finding weaknesses in the simulated enemy formations. "We could actually do this," she said, eyes shining. "We could defend the base if anyone came." Rylan nodded, pride swelling in his chest. "And we would. Humans don't back down when they're underestimated. We find a way." The first real test came sooner than expected. A small scout ship, belonging to a local corporation that had been monitoring the base, appeared on their sensors. Its crew had no idea what awaited them. They believed the base was abandoned, a relic of the past. Rylan and Lyra watched as the ship approached. Lyra tapped into the Guardian's interface, activating defensive systems for the first time. Lights flickered across the walls, energy barriers hummed to life, and the base seemed to pulse with readiness. The scout ship fired a warning shot, hoping to intimidate them, but it was met with an invisible force field that pushed the projectile away. Holographic decoys appeared outside the base, confusing the sensors of the intruder ship. Lyra's quick thinking, combined with the Guardian's calculations, allowed them to track the movements of the craft precisely, anticipating its every maneuver. Rylan felt a surge of pride. "You're doing perfectly," he said quietly to Lyra. "They'll never expect this." The scout ship, realizing it could not breach the defenses, attempted to retreat. But the Guardian had predicted the escape route, and subtle manipulations of gravity fields and energy pulses nudged the ship into a safe containment area near the base. The intruders were unharmed but completely trapped, forced to communicate and negotiate. When the corporation's crew finally made contact, they were shocked. How did you do this?" their commander asked. This base, we thought it was abandoned. There's no way you could... Rylan stepped forward, calm and confident. You underestimated us. That was your first mistake. Humans adapt. Humans learn. Humans survive. Lyra joined him, holding her head high. And sometimes humans find things others think are lost or useless. This base isn't abandoned, and we're not helpless. The message was clear. What others saw as a rusty relic was actually a fortress, a center of intelligence, and a source of power far beyond their expectations. And it was controlled by humans, resourceful, determined humans who refused to be mocked or underestimated. That night, after the intruders were sent away, Rylan and Lyra stood in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. The Guardian pulsed gently between them, its energy calming but alive. "We've only scratched the surface," Rylan said. "The galaxy doesn't know what's coming, and that's our advantage." Lyra smiled. "Then let's make sure they remember who we are. Not just a retired soldier and his daughter, but humans who won't be ignored." Rylan nodded. "Exactly. Humans always find a way, and we're just getting started." Somewhere in the distance, other bases like theirs awaited discovery. The galaxy's underestimation of humanity had been its greatest mistake, and Rylan and Lyra were about to show everyone why humans deserved respect, not because of their technology alone, but because of their courage, intelligence, and the refusal to give up. The Guardian continued to hum softly as if approving their progress. The base, once abandoned and mocked, was alive again, and the soldier and his daughter had found not just a secret, but a path that could change the future of the galaxy. The days after the first encounter with the scout ship passed quickly, but Rylan and Lyra knew the galaxy would not forget the base so easily. Word spread among the nearby systems, reaching ears that had little respect for humans. Corporations with fleets of ships, skilled pilots, and advanced weapons began to show interest, not to negotiate, but to take control by force. Rylan studied the incoming reports, his jaw tight. "They think the first scout was a fluke. They think we're weak." Lyra frowned, her hands hovering over the Guardian's interface. "But we're not weak. We just need to be ready for the real test." The Guardian pulsed softly between them, responding to their thoughts. It had learned to anticipate their intentions, guiding them in ways Rylan had not expected. "They will come," the AI projected in a calm tone. "Prepare. Use what you have. Trust in your ingenuity." Rylan nodded. "Humans always adapt. We'll do more than prepare. We'll outsmart them." Over the next week, they transformed the old base into a fortress. Lyra and Rylan worked together, combining human intuition with the Guardian's advanced calculations. Hidden energy shields were restored and reinforced. Old weapon systems were repaired, and holographic decoys were programmed to mimic the station's structure across multiple sections. Lyra discovered ways to reroute power, making the base capable of short bursts of extraordinary energy that could push enemy ships away or create protective barriers. "Dad, look at this," she said one evening. "If we combine the energy grids from the old reactors with the Guardian's predictions, we could anticipate enemy movements before they even approach." Rylan studied the holographic display she had created. "You're right. That would give us an advantage no one expects. The corporations assume they have numbers, but we have strategy, and humans are unpredictable." As the final preparations continued, the sensors detected the incoming fleet. It was larger than any threat they had faced so far. 6 heavily armed ships, each equipped with advanced weaponry, shields, and drones designed to disable stations. "They think they can take us," Rylan said quietly, his voice calm but firm. "Let's show them how humans fight." The fleet approached, scanning for weaknesses. Lyra monitored their sensors closely, her fingers flying across the interface as she activated energy shields and decoy protocols. The Guardian's voice guided them, projecting predictions of the enemy's movements and recommending defensive maneuvers. The first attack came without warning. Energy beams lashed out toward the base, striking the outer hull with deadly precision. The base shuddered under the impact, but Rylan and Lyra remained focused. Using the Guardian's projections, they activated decoys, diverting several beams and sending false signals that confused the enemy sensors. "They think they have us," Lyra said, her eyes gleaming. "But we're controlling the battlefield." Rylan smiled faintly. "Exactly. Remember, humans think creatively. We don't just react, we adapt." They worked as a team, seamlessly coordinating movements, rerouting power, and predicting enemy attacks. Lyra discovered she could interface directly with the Guardian, creating real-time adjustments to the base's defenses that even Rylan could not anticipate. The corporations launched drones to disable the station, but each one was intercepted by energy pulses projected from the base. Shields shimmered and redirected attacks, while holographic decoys created the illusion that the base was larger and more heavily armed than it really was. Every move the enemy made was countered with precision, guided by human strategy and the Guardian's calculations. As the battle continued, the enemy fleet began to show signs of frustration. Their ships were forced into defensive maneuvers, their attacks increasingly chaotic. Rylan noticed the pattern and whispered to Lyra, "They're losing coordination. Keep pressing, but don't overextend." Lyra nodded, eyes locked on the displays. She rerouted energy to the outer shields, then activated a series of holographic decoys that simulated multiple escape routes. The enemy ships, trying to predict their next move, were constantly fooled, firing at empty space and missing critical targets. "This is incredible," Lyra said, her voice barely above a whisper. "We're outsmarting them." Rylan placed a hand on her shoulder. "Never forget, Lyra. Strategy and intelligence matter as much as firepower. Humans always find a way." The battle reached its climax when the lead ship of the fleet attempted a direct assault on the control center. It fired a concentrated energy beam designed to breach the hull. Rylan and Lyra acted instantly. Lyra activated a temporary gravitational pulse, diverting the beam harmlessly into space, while Rylan triggered an emergency energy surge from the Guardian to reinforce the shields. The enemy ship recoiled, stunned by the unexpected defense. The Guardian projected a holographic image of the fleet, highlighting weak points and suggesting maneuvers that could neutralize the attackers without causing permanent harm. Rylan and Lyra followed the guidance, coordinating a counterattack that trapped the fleet in a controlled field near the base. The intruders were unharmed, but completely immobilized. Communications channels opened, and the fleet's commander called out, voice filled with disbelief. This base! How? We were certain we could take it easily." Rylan stepped forward, his calm voice carrying authority. "You assumed humans were weak. You assumed this base was abandoned. You underestimated us. That was your mistake." Lyra joined him, standing tall. "This base isn't just metal and circuits. It's human ingenuity. You can't calculate determination, courage, or creativity. And that's what you faced today." The commander of the fleet fell silent. The soldiers surrounding him exchanged uneasy glances. They had faced powerful enemies before, but none like this. A retired soldier and his daughter, using strategy and intelligence to defend what everyone else had mocked. As the intruders retreated, Rylan and Lyra felt a mixture of relief and triumph. The base had not only survived, but had proven that humans could stand against forces far stronger than themselves when they combined courage with intelligence. The Guardian pulsed between them, a soft, approving glow filling the room. "You have demonstrated ingenuity and bravery," it said. "The base is secure, but greater challenges lie ahead. You must continue to learn, adapt, and prepare." Rylan placed a hand on Lyra's shoulder. "We will. Humans never stop improving. Every victory is a lesson. every challenge a chance to grow. Lyra smiled, her eyes shining with determination. Then let's keep going. There's so much more to discover here and out there. The days that followed were filled with exploration and preparation. Rylan and Lyra worked tirelessly, studying the Guardian's capabilities and mapping the hidden sections of the base. They discovered old laboratories filled with equipment that could enhance their defenses, storage bays with energy cores, and communication arrays capable of reaching distant systems. Every discovery reminded them that what others considered useless was, in fact, invaluable. The base was a treasure trove of forgotten technology, and with the Guardian's help, they could unlock its full potential. One evening, as they rested in the observation deck, watching distant stars shimmer in the darkness, Lyra turned to her father. Do you think the galaxy will ever respect humans the way it should? Rylan looked out at the stars, his expression calm and thoughtful. Respect is earned, Lyra. And sometimes, it comes after humans show what they can do when underestimated. We've taken the first step. The rest of the galaxy will follow. The Guardian pulsed softly, as if in agreement. Somewhere in the distance, other bases and hidden stations awaited discovery. Humans, underestimated for centuries, were beginning to reclaim their place in the galaxy. And Rylan and Lyra, once mocked and dismissed, had become the first to show the truth. That courage, intelligence, and determination could overcome even the most advanced threats. The battle had been won, but the war for recognition and understanding had only begun. And with each passing day, Rylan and Lyra grew stronger, smarter, and more capable. The galaxy would soon learn that humans were not to be underestimated, and that even the most abandoned, forgotten places could hide the keys to power, wisdom, and survival. Rylan placed his hand on Lyra's shoulder once more. Humans always find a way, he said quietly, and we've only just begun. The base hummed with energy, alive and vibrant, ready for the challenges that awaited. And for the first time in decades, it was clear that the station's greatest legacy would not be its past, but the humans who had inherited it and transformed it into something extraordinary. The galaxy had begun to notice. Whispers spread from distant trade routes to major interstellar hubs. An old, abandoned base, controlled by a retired soldier and his daughter, had not only survived a full-scale fleet assault, but had done so with precision, intelligence, and almost impossible efficiency. Rylan and Lyra, once mocked and dismissed, were becoming names that could no longer be ignored. Yet the attention that came their way was not always friendly. Corporations still sent scouts, hoping to steal or study the base, while governments sent envoys, curious about the Guardian that had protected it. Rylan and Lyra had learned that with power came responsibility, and with responsibility came the need for caution. One quiet morning, as the twin suns of the distant star system rose above the horizon, Lyra sat in the command center examining the Guardian's latest projections. The AI pulsed softly, its lights reflecting across the polished metal floors. "Father," she said thoughtfully, "the Guardian has been showing me more than just defense systems. There are other stations, other bases like this one, and it seems they're all connected." Rylan joined her, leaning over the display. "Connected how?" Lyra tapped a few holographic symbols, bringing up a star map. Tiny points of light marked several locations, each corresponding to a hidden station scattered across nearby star systems. "The Guardian says these stations were part of a network meant to protect and observe the galaxy, and it looks like they were waiting for someone capable to awaken them." Rylan's eyes widened. "So we're not just guarding one base. We could have access to a network of advanced technology that no one else even knows exists." Lyra nodded. "And it's all ours to protect, or to use wisely." The realization was overwhelming. They were standing at the threshold of a discovery that could change the balance of power across the galaxy. But Rylan knew better than to rush. Power without wisdom is dangerous, Lyra. We must proceed carefully. First, we secure our home. Then we learn. And only after we are ready do we act. Days turned into weeks as they strengthened the base further. Rylan and Lyra worked in harmony, combining human ingenuity with the Guardian's intelligence. Hidden storage rooms revealed supplies and tools left behind by Dr. Ellerin, energy cores capable of powering entire sectors, and control interfaces that allowed them to manipulate the station in ways even Rylan had never imagined. The Guardian began to reveal its final capabilities. It could predict potential threats not only from the nearby star system, but also from far-off regions. It could simulate attacks, test strategies, and even manipulate energy flows to create defensive or offensive fields. With every day, Rylan and Lyra became more proficient, understanding how to harness the Guardian's power without relying solely on it. Then, one evening, a new message reached them, not from a scout or a corporation, but from the Galactic Council itself. The holographic communicator flickered to life, revealing the face of a stern official. "Commander Rylan Kor," the official began, "we have received reports of your base, and your actions have not gone unnoticed. A retired soldier and his daughter, controlling a station with technology far beyond current standards, is unprecedented. We request a formal meeting to understand your capabilities and intentions." Lyra's eyes sparkled. "They want to meet us? After everything they said about Dad?" Rylan smiled faintly. "They're finally taking humans seriously, but we'll approach carefully. We have to show them that humanity can wield this power responsibly." Preparations began for the official visit. Rylan and Lyra ensured the base was fully operational, its defenses ready but unobtrusive, and the Guardian interfaced seamlessly with the station's command systems. They wanted to impress, but also to demonstrate the discipline and control humans possessed. When the Council's representatives arrived, their ships hovering just outside the base, they were immediately struck by the precision of the station. Energy fields shimmered softly, and holographic projections displayed the base's internal systems in real time. The intruders entered with caution, expecting traps or hostility, but found only calm and order. Rylan met them personally, his military bearing commanding respect. Lyra stood beside him, confident and composed, her presence radiating intelligence and capability. "Welcome," Rylan said. "You are seeing the base as it was meant to be seen, not as abandoned, but as alive and capable. We've been entrusted with technology that must be used wisely, and we intend to do so." The Council representatives examined the systems carefully, their eyes widening as they witnessed the Guardian in action. Holographic simulations showed the base neutralizing attacks, protecting itself, and even predicting outcomes in ways no human technology had previously achieved. This is remarkable," one of the representatives said. "And humans, you've demonstrated ingenuity beyond our expectations. How did you manage this?" Rylan glanced at Lyra. "By combining knowledge, courage, and creativity. Humans are resourceful. We are underestimated far too often, but we learn, we adapt, and we survive. That is what you see here." Lyra added, "And we respect what we've inherited. This isn't just about power, it's about responsibility. The Guardian is not a weapon, but a guide. We must use it to protect, to explore, and to grow." The Council members were silent for a moment, absorbing the words and witnessing the systems in action. Then, one of them spoke. "You have proven that humans are capable of far more than we realized. The galaxy owes you respect, and perhaps guidance in understanding this network you now control." Rylan nodded. "We will accept guidance only when it aligns with what we know is right. Humans act responsibly because we understand consequences, and we are willing to teach others what we've learned, if they are willing to listen." The Council representatives nodded. their demeanor shifting from skepticism to admiration. The base, once mocked as useless and abandoned, had become a symbol of human potential, a combination of courage, intelligence, and careful stewardship. In the weeks that followed, Rylan and Lyra began exploring the other stations in the network. Each one revealed new technologies, advanced defensive systems, and archives of knowledge that predated human civilization in this sector. The Guardian guided them, teaching, assisting, and ensuring that they used every resource wisely. They encountered challenges, difficult puzzles, damaged systems, and remnants of alien technology that required careful study. But humans, as Rylan often reminded Lyra, were built for challenges. Each obstacle was met with ingenuity, collaboration, and determination. And with every success, the galaxy's perception of humanity changed. Other species, once dismissive of humans, began to seek cooperation. Traders offered assistance rather than mockery. Explorers invited dialogue instead of scorn, and even corporations began to approach with respect instead of greed. Yet Rylan and Lyra remained focused. Their mission was not recognition or power. It was understanding, protection, and growth. The network of bases was a treasure, yes, but it was also a responsibility that could not be taken lightly. One evening, as they stood in the central chamber of the Guardian, watching the energy flow across the interconnected systems, Lyra spoke quietly. "Dad, do you think humans can really reach the potential we're seeing here, with this knowledge and technology?" Rylan smiled, placing a hand on her shoulder. "We already have, Lyra. Humans reach potential when they face challenges, when they are underestimated, and when they refuse to give up. This is just the beginning. The galaxy will see what humans can do, not just because of technology, but because of courage, intelligence, and heart." Lyra looked out at the stars, feeling the weight and the promise of their discovery. "Then let's make sure the future we build is one worth respecting. For humanity, and for everyone else out there." Rylan nodded. "Exactly. The galaxy may have mocked us once, but it will not forget humans again. We've shown them what determination can achieve, and as long as we continue to act with wisdom and courage, there will be no limit to what we can accomplish." The Guardian pulsed brightly, its energy filling the chamber with warmth. The bases across the network hummed in response, as if acknowledging the humans who had awakened them. Somewhere, in distant systems, other civilizations took note of this new force in the galaxy, a force born not from overwhelming power, but from intelligence, resourcefulness, and the relentless spirit of humanity. Rylan and Lyra stood together, side by side, watching as the stars stretched into infinity. The journey that had begun with inheritance, ridicule, and doubt had transformed into a mission of discovery, responsibility, and legacy. They had turned a forgotten space station into a symbol of human potential. The galaxy would never underestimate humans again, and this was only the beginning. Together, father and daughter, guided by courage, intelligence, and the Guardian's wisdom, prepared for the next adventure. Knowing that humanity's story in the stars was just beginning, and that the possibilities were limitless.